if I were to say this, you had your defining moment as an athlete. You had your defining moment. Coaches have their defining moments in watching their athletes perform. What would be the Athletes Association's defining moment if you could pick it right now?
That moment that hasn't happened yet.
That hasn't happened yet.
Okay. I think when the people and the athletes in this sport, when they can all come together and understand that collectively we are a lot more powerful than any other group in this sport, because without us, there's just a big empty field, and they can come together and say, look, we want to improve the profession for as many of us as that we can improve it for, and this is what we're prepared to do. I think that's going to be the moment where we actually make some real changes in how track and field is presented and what the profession really is globally and nationally.
Adam Nelson, thank you very much. You did well in the hot seat. It wasn't too hot, but hey, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in the future. I'm quite sure our paths will cross. Will you be at the championships this year?
Don't know yet.
Don't know yet. So you're trying to pick and choose what you go to, right? You're going to try to transition out of sport or the competition piece of it and get behind.
It's a lot harder to get to these events when somebody else isn't paying your ticket there.
I got you. Well, thank you very much, and once again, good luck with your next phase of life.
Thanks, Ian. Take care.
Right, cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bags by Coach O is proud to announce that we now carry a full line of track and field equipment. We are working in conjunction with MF Athletics. Go to our website and view our new Puma catalog at www.coacho.com.
Hey, good evening. Good evening. Man, this has been a great night of track and field here at Greater Atlanta Christian. We've had a lot of elite athletes as well as some of our high school athletes, and I have the privilege of being here with Jackie Collins, USATF Georgia Youth Chair, as well as her wingman, Eric Merriweather. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Man, I'm happy to be here too. I mean, it's kind of a different twist. Never seen a band at a track meet, but, hey, let's start something new, right?
Creating a new flow for us,
Exactly.
So it's good.
Exactly. So, obviously, you guys are getting ready to go into full throttle pretty soon here. So, what do we got going on for the summer?
Well, Georgia itself has many developmental meets every weekend, so the athletes are already in gear and have been for a couple of weeks now. There are many of the USATF track clubs have meets every weekend, and there's an average of about 2 to 3 meets every weekend. So by the time they get to our qualifying events, they are good to go. And our qualifiers are starting on June 1st with the area meets, where we'll get a look at who the children are who will compete for the summer.
So now, Eric, you've had a pretty good couple years, huh?
I have. It's been a successful year for me over the last couple of years with the athletes I've been fortunate to work with. And, some have already gone off to college, and we have quite a few going off to college this year. So it's been a successful 2 years for me. And I have some up-and-coming athletes that it will be a great, next 2 years, I believe, maybe even 3 to 4 years, because the athletes are just doing so well this time around. So I'm pretty proud of that. And then I also want to talk about, as far as USA Track and Field on the youth side, I think we're averaging, if Jackie can correct me if I'm wrong, we're starting to have more new clubs sign up.
Actually, that's pretty correct.
Which is really good for USA Track and Field, that there's so many different more clubs that are starting to develop in the Georgia area, which means that as an association, we're starting to grow and improve on our talent in Georgia. So I just wanted to expound on that a little bit.
Well, actually, Eric, we have hit the 132 club mark for the first time. That's the biggest we ever been in our history in Georgia. Last year we hit the 4,000 member mark. So you're absolutely right. The health of track and field in the state of Georgia is phenomenal. It starts from the youth side, where we put 10 kids or so on the world youth team. At the Olympic level, we put about 10 kids or athletes that have come through Georgia. So literally, the pipeline is here, and it's insane. It's bananas, because you're right. Our weekends are filled week in and week out with all these darn track meets. So that says we're very healthy as an association, which obviously from my position it's good. And I know that from from the youth committee, the focus has been to increase the number of competitions that we've done, and we've done that. And I think you put out a good product, and the result is what you see now, which is 132 clubs, over 2,800 athletes in the pipeline, as well as this is probably one of the hottest recruiting beds ever.
And one thing we need to keep focus on is I think this is the first time since I've been the youth chair in 4 years, we have like 8 clubs from South Georgia and East Georgia, from Augusta. We've got Valdosta. We've got Savannah. We've got clubs now for over the whole state. Instead of being so Atlanta-centric, we have other clubs now starting to step up and join USATF Georgia and be a part of the competition.
Well, I think the competition speaks for itself, because if you look at it historically, you've had athletes that have come from South Georgia that have been phenomenal. Herschel Walker came from South Georgia.
Absolutely.
Right. And, he didn't run in the JO system, but obviously, there's talent down there. It's just exposure.
Absolutely, yes.
And of course, it's always a challenge, to figure out how do you cover the whole state when we're so Atlanta-centric.
And that's a problem, Ian, we look forward to having.
Oh, it's a great problem to have, because it gives us some choices. Now, we've got the JO series. Tell us about the impending changes that are coming up in the JOs. We've moved. So what does that look like?
We are now part of Region 4. So before, when it was Region 3, and that was Maryland and Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, we were the largest region in the country. They have taken it and split us up so that we are now part of Region 4, which puts Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia. We are looking forward to the competition and having Florida in the fold, competing against Georgia. We think that's going to be hotly contested. And so we're looking forward to Florida and Georgia and South Carolina having some great competition at the region meet on July 4th weekend.
Well, I'm just going to be really honest and candid. This is my coach's hat on. We're going to whip some butts. Then forget all that competition stuff. They got to catch us. When I look at the podium, obviously, they look like the Big G to me. They don't look like Florida, and they don't look like SC. They look like... And so I'm proud of that. I'm glad that we've switched regions. Obviously, the rotation's every 3 years instead of every 5 years or so. And I think, the competition, it's already inherently there. Think about the Georgia-Florida football game. One of the most competitive games.
Correct.
And everybody comes.
Correct.
So I love the aspect of Team Georgia coming down there and just wiping somebody out.
And Ian, we already have a bet on the floor with Florida. They've already made some statements that we said, let's put something up. So we already have a bet on the floor with Florida.
I'll take it out of my budget. I'll tell you this now. Please put this out there on the air. It's going to be public. I will bet a bushel of peaches versus their darn oranges. And then I'm quite sure South Carolina is probably going to challenge us. So let it be known now, Robin Beeman, we are coming down to Florida. And where are we going to be next year?
If I'm not mistaken, the exact words were, they were going to send us back up the highway with our tails, holding on to our tails.
I mean, I love fried gator tails. So
right, exactly.
So we can send our tails back to Georgia with our fried gator tails, and South Carolina, look out. So the JOs is going to be in Winter Park, or the region's going to be Winter Park. Nationals is going to be where?
Greensboro, North Carolina.
And that's going to be when?
July the 22nd to the 28th.
All right, so we're going to be back in Greensboro.
With an expected 9,000 participants for the National Junior Olympics this year.
So did we increase the number that advance, or how are they getting those 9,000?
No, they didn't increase the numbers that advanced this year, but they had 8,700 registered for this past year in 2012. So 2013, they modestly have increased and said they're looking at a possible 9,000 athletes.
And I think that may be coming from because everybody loves North Carolina. Everybody loves the venue, and it's close to a lot of people. So that's why I believe that the numbers are going to maybe even increase even more, because it's a centrally location for a lot of people that like to come and compete in different places. So with it being around the East Coast region, and everybody knows we have a lot of athletes on the East Coast, not saying that we don't have them on the West Coast, but the East Coast comes to compete. So I just think the numbers are going to increase from that perspective altogether.
And then our numbers grew dramatically last year also based on the sub-bantam becoming a age division. So when they brought in the sub-bantam, the 7-8-year-olds, and made them an actual division, our numbers increased dramatically with that because it's grassroots.
So
you're now doing grassroots.
Literally, so the sport is growing, and it just kind of reflects on what's going on here. That at the grassroots level, it's truly growing, and that's a great, obviously, a compliment to you and your committee and the people that serve Georgia, and I think we'll continue to do that in the next couple of years. I look forward to it.
We do too. We're very happy, and we appreciate this event tonight. It gives not only our coaches, but it gives our athletes and their families an opportunity to come out and not compete, to come out and just relax and enjoy the festivities and meet the Olympic athletes. This is something I think we need to look at doing more often. We need to allow our athletes, our coaches, our parents to come out and just enjoy the environment sometime instead of always just having to be part of the environment.
Well, I think it's a great mixture of having the Olympic athletes and high-caliber athletes as well as the high school athletes. And I think next year,
Absolutely.
as we gradually grow this meet, and I think it's a good template to say, hey, we don't have to run a full-blown meet, but we can take some of our great Georgia champions. And actually, the invite went out to some of the champions in the surrounding states where we can set the tone and tempo for athletics and track and field and get, track and field where it needs to be, which is the forefront of the community. It's really funny. I had some of my coworkers, the only thing they wanted to do is come down and see Lolo Jones. She's one piece of this, but there's a whole huge piece from the grassroots level coming up who got an opportunity to see, these athletes go and looking at the crowd.
I had a good talk with Mr. Doyle about the childhood obesity and track and field being such an integral part in fighting childhood obesity. And so we're going to try to take that a step further and look at growing and advancing some programs to make sure that we keep that in the forefront.
Well, thank you very much for joining the show today, and good luck with the season. I know we've got a lot of hotly contested races in front of us, and we've got to deal with all those athletes that are coming through the pipe, but you guys have done a great job, and I appreciate the work that you do.
And we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.